Hey YouTubers, it's Charlie. Thank you everybody that submitted questions on my Walking Dead videos. Just in case you didn't see on Monday, I was talking a little bit about the ratings, what actually went down after the premiere. So it turned out a little over 10 million people just in the US watched Fear the Walking Dead episode 1. That doesn't include international people. Typically when ratings are reported for shows that are in the United States, they're just talking about United States ratings. Some of you guys said you had a hard time finding it just because internationally it airs on a bunch of different television stations, so it can be a little confusing. But it sounds like a couple days later, as of like right now, most of you have found one way or another to watch it. It'll probably take a few weeks to figure out, but there's only 6 episodes, and they will do reruns when the main show comes back on. Like they'll keep showing these 6 episodes throughout the season. And they've already confirmed a 15 episode season 2. They greenlit it like a long time ago actually. So just in terms of popularity, about 8 million people watched the season 5 premiere of Game of Thrones, but you have to remember it's premium cable, so the numbers are a little wonky with that. A little over 10 million watched this episode of Fear the Walking Dead, and then just a little over 17 million people watched season 5 episode 1 of The Walking Dead of the main show. Just for comparison, whenever the main show first premiered, its ratings were way lower than Fear the Walking Dead, but the fandom has grown, so this is a very different TV landscape. But in terms of popularity, it crushed. So I don't think there are going to be any issues with Fear the Walking Dead being a really popular show. That being said, most shows aren't like the best they're ever going to be the minute they premiere. It takes the writers a little while to settle in. But let's get to questions. So here we go. Killer Plays asks, it'd be cool if we saw characters who are dead in The Walking Dead and see them before all shit broke loose. There are going to be a ton more flashbacks. They didn't say which characters would be flashing back, but like we saw Michonne, we saw Rick flashbacks last year. They'll just continue to be a lot more stuff. Probably some Morgan flashbacks too. Next question, Outsider asks, I'd love to see Clementine in a future season. That cameo would make the internet explode. Well, I don't know about explode, but I'm not expecting to see Clementine on the main show. There's an issue of intellectual property. AMC would actually have to pay money to Telltale to use that character. It's a really weird situation with licensed shows like that. It's the same thing with Game of Thrones Telltale game. I'm not expecting to see any of those characters cross over, but they might reference some of the things that happen in the game offhandedly. It's easier to get away with stuff like that or like casual turns of phrase when you refer to something else without stepping on anyone's legal toes. It's really weird, but you can get sued for looking at someone the wrong way out in Hollywood. Next question, Nico asks, I wonder if Morgan is the replacement character for Jesus in the comics. Even if you don't understand who Jesus is in the comics, I can say, no, Morgan isn't a replacement for anyone. Morgan is actually in the comics in this place in Alexandria in the safe zone. His storyline is just like a little bit different, like the reason that he gets to the Alexandria safe zone, but he is a character in this storyline where they're at right now. If they don't end up actually doing the Jesus character, they could kind of spread some of his storyline in the comics to a couple other characters. Sometimes they'll do that, where they'll give storylines like Andrea's storyline in the comics is kind of what Sasha's doing on the show right now. Next question, Billy Chang asks, who do you think will die this season? Well, there's always a certain amount of red shirts that they kill just to say, oh hey, we're back, this is a new season, people die all the time. And then there are the rugs that they try to pull out, like people that make you feel safe that they want to get rid of. From a writer standpoint, like the way Gimple explains it, is that when characters feel like too much of a safety net for the survivors, that's when they try to take that away. The best example is Herschel. Like Herschel was a really wise person, gave really great advice, made everyone feel a little bit safer even though he himself wasn't super powerful. And Gimple said that, well, we really just wanted to take that safety net away from them. So anybody who makes you feel super safe or feel semi-invincible, they're probably going to be the next ones to die. That's why you see a lot of the main characters, like Daryl, be super flawed. If Daryl, for whatever reason, suddenly turned into a genius, then I would get worried about him. But as long as he still seems like an outdoor cat that thinks he's an indoor cat, he's completely safe. Next question, Ricky Cortez asks, love Fear the Walking Dead, sucks that it's only 6 episodes though. Well, like I mentioned earlier, there's going to be 15 episodes in season 2, and thereafter each season that it gets renewed, it'll just probably get like another 15 or 16 episodes. I have no idea why it's 15 episodes instead of 16, but they might stagger the dates that it airs on with the main show. The other option would be for them to air it like an hour before the main show, or they could air it even later at night, but I don't know that they'd want to do that. Next question, Liana Stark asks, can't say it felt as intense when I first watched The Walking Dead Season 1, Episode 1, but I was hooked. Yeah, a lot of people all kind of have that feeling where it's like not quite as intense as you remember The Walking Dead being, but you have to remember that now that we understand the threat of the walkers, it's like a completely different sense of suspense. It really does change the way you watch a show when you know what's going to happen, when you know the end point. When they were promoting the show, they did say that they were thinking about that. They're like, oh, it's going to be fun for the audience because they know what's coming. I don't know that that's why it's fun to watch the show. Really, in order for me to enjoy a show, I have to get invested in the characters, and it's probably going to take a couple episodes before like I really settle in on my favorites. I like Travis's character. I think he's going to be a good protagonist. Cliff Curtis is just an amazing actor. I think I've already said like a billion times how much I like Kim Dickens. I'm not quite feeling the younger characters yet, but I think in the next couple of episodes, we'll see some of them come into their own as shit starts to go crazy. I know some of you were talking about the female actress, the daughter actress, is from The 100, and she's a pretty big badass on that show. So I'm looking forward to her doing some really crazy stuff. Next question, Mike asks. This is actually a trailer question from the main show. I think when Rick is saying, do you have any idea who you're talking to? And saying, you think you can take this place for me? He's talking to the leader of the wolves. Maybe that they got invaded, and just got ruined by the survivors. So yeah, that's totally possible. I mean, they mess with our heads when they post the trailers, thinking that Rick is talking to someone else. Gimple actually said something really interesting about maybe the first or second episode. He said early in the season, I'm assuming he was talking about the first episode, but the giant megaherd that's slowly moving towards them, the survivors are going to use them to solve some of their big problems in a really roundabout way. That's all he said. He just kind of teased that. So what might end up happening is like the wolves move on with their trucks, like they bring in their W walkers, but the survivors find a way to use the super herd to take out the wolves herd. Either way, I think we're going to see some crazy super herd action in that first episode. Next question, Marv asks, being set in LA, I'd love to see some celebrity cameos in which celebrities play themselves. Yeah, you mean like heightened versions of themselves driving along and then they get pulled out of the car by a walker. I'm not expecting too many just because it's really expensive to get celebrity cameos, but they do film in LA, so I wouldn't be surprised if there were like one or two minor cameos. Usually when I hear about celebrities going on Walking Dead, it's like the producers of the show saying, hey, come on, we'll turn you into a walker, we'll put you in makeup, no one will recognize you. It's a little bit different with Fear the Walking Dead zombies because they have so much of their skin intact, you'd actually would be able to recognize them. Next question, T-Man X asks, did the mom get bit? Because it looked like she did. Well, they wanted you to think she did, but I kind of got it ruined for me because I understand what a big actress Kim Dickens is. So like in my brain where I analyze shows, I'm thinking, well, they're not going to kill the main actor of the show. She's going to be in all 6 episodes. That can happen sometimes when you start watching too much TV, where you're like, oh, okay, this is clearly like a special guest actor. He might be around for 1 or 2 episodes, but that's it. The best example against that, like where they present someone as the main star, but then they kill him off anyway, would be Sean Bean from Game of Thrones. That's why when they did that during Game of Thrones Season 1, everyone went so crazy because they're like, oh my god, they killed the main star. Fear the Walking Dead, I think, is going to be a little more traditional. So I'm expecting all those family, like most of the family members that we met in the episode, to survive to Season 2. Notice that I said most of them. I'm not expecting everybody to make it to Season 2. Next question, Christina asks, I only watched the episode once, so I don't know the names too well, but do you think the daughter's boyfriend who didn't show up at Venice Beach is a walker? Yeah, the boyfriend that she couldn't find at the end. I do think that he is marked for death, but I think that he'll surprise us and show up in the second episode. It just feels like that party at his parents' house, when they're out of town, feels too good for a crazy walker attack. But that could always be a misdirect, like she could go looking for him and find him as a walker at his house. Next question, Seth asks, is Nick patient zero? So I saw a lot of questions about this. Like, is this the beginning of the outbreak? Does that mean we're seeing the first instances of zombies? Or I should say walkers. No, that is actually not the case. Remember what Tobias was talking about. Tobias was the chubby kid that got his knife taken away that Kim Dickens was talking to, Madison's character. He was talking about outbreaks in 5 states and people not understanding whether or not there was a virus going around. So it sounds like the outbreak had already started in its initial stages. People were slowly turning, but it hadn't turned into a large-scale thing, like it hadn't been caught on camera yet. So in terms of the timeline, I'm guessing patient zero was maybe like a week or 2 or a couple weeks before what we're seeing happen right now. Robert Kirkman's always been really hardcore about not over-explaining how the virus started, where it came from, how it spread so fast. But you can start guessing. Like they kept talking about the flu shot. That probably helped. Widespread immunization. Then you have good old-fashioned human contact, but the outbreak spreads exponentially, so it starts really slow, like it takes a while, and then it just goes crazy by the time it spreads across the United States and the rest of the world. But thank you so much, everyone, for submitting questions. These are always a ton of fun to do. It'll be interesting to see how far they take these first 6 episodes. I'm expecting by the end of episode 6, then LA will just be like a complete trash heap. What I'm going to do is just like for the main show, each week I'll do my review video where I'll do like my top 5, top 10 moments. Then I'll do the Q&A the next day. I'll have to try and balance it with the Game of Thrones videos, but it should all work out just fine. Congratulations to this week's giveaway winner, Grant Doherty. You win a $20 Amazon gift card. Just be sure to message me on the back end of my channel so I can get your contact info. If you haven't been watching it too, Vixen, the animated CW spinoff from The Flash and Arrow, just aired, so you guys should check it out. It's only 5 minutes, but it's also going to be 6 episodes, one new one each week. So in case you haven't seen it yet, you can click here for my Vixen episode 1 video, and you can click here for my Walking Dead season 6 preview breakdown, the footage that they showed and some of the stuff they talked about, like Jedi Morgan. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. Let's high five. I'll see you guys tomorrow.